on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check here with your NXT 2.0. We're kind of coming off of War Games. We're kind of towards New Year's Evil. I don't know what the fuck is happening in the middle. It's the holidays and everybody's a little bit tired. Review! Yeah, that'll do. That'll work. You guys haven't heard from me in a while, and it's because I sound a lot like this. I think it's been like 10 days or more since I've put something out. For some of you, maybe you'll go, phew, maybe I'll shut up for a little bit. For some of you, maybe you've wondered where I've been. I said I wasn't going to do anything the week of Winter is Coming, and I didn't. And I was loading up for this past weekend, and then the Omicron shit happened. And I'm not going to go too much into the COVID stuff, because the politics of all the COVID shit is making me want to blow my brains out. Let it be said that most of my family Christmas plans have gone into the shitter. And where I am in Ontario, we're probably inching our way closer to another lockdown. So, yeah. But that all happened sort of Sunday, Monday. I did manage to get out this weekend and see Spider-Man No Way Home, which is fucking amazing. I'm sure at some point. It's one of those things where I hope to get Kristen back on the show soon, but if that doesn't happen, I might just come up here and talk about it myself, because that was a lot of fun. Got to go out with a couple of buddies and see that. Had one of those audiences that reacts like it's a live show, and that's a lot of fun, and it was all fun in the right ways. It wasn't obnoxious. And then I also got to go out on Sunday to Destiny Wrestling's Zero Fear, which was an amazing show at half capacity, because why the fuck not? And sometime over the holiday season, I'm going to be giving you guys a video of just some of my thoughts on the show and some of the stuff that happened, because it was a lot of fun. I'll put up the video and the slideshow like I usually do. I didn't do that for the other one that just passed, and now I think it's sort of, we've had the next show, so I don't think there's a point in me putting up that, but I will come up here to talk about Zero Fear at some point, because it was a lot of fun, and for lack of a better term, it may have been a little bit of a curtain call until we come back out of these unsure times, shall we say. But if we are going to go back into lockdown, it is going to be me rattling around my house. It is going to be me probably coming back to you guys to talk to you guys, because this is a weird, not so codependent relationship. If I have nothing else to do, you guys will hear more from me. You'll probably hear something about not New Year's Smash, the holiday Dynamite, holiday bash, smash, whatever they're calling Dynamite tomorrow night, because that does look like it's going to be a decent show. I'll give you some thoughts at the time on Winter is Coming as well. So you will get some AEW from me at some point this week. Wasn't going to do an NXT review this week, because I was just like, what are they going to do? Maybe they'll set up some stuff for New Year's Evil, which they did. We will get to that. But two things hooked me, because I record this the night NXT happens, and it goes live the next day. As you guys know, it usually drops around 10 a.m. my time the next day after I've done recording. So two things made me change my mind. Is A, I used to be the NXT guy, so why would I not drop an NXT review on my birthday? Cheap plug. But also, somebody said to me, I think AJ Styles is going to be on NXT 2.0 tonight. And it's like, why? And I went on social media, and it's like, well, he's arguing on social media with Grayson Waller. And I'm like, well, I might have to actually check that out, because he's going to face Omos probably at day one, and that's going to be a great wrestler and a big guy. And if you want to talk about great wrestlers just taking on guys that are big, do you not talk about NXT 2.0? I am still, to this day, even though I'm talking about NXT more and more on this show, I am more and more in this prolonged funeral for the old NXT, because every time I see something from the old NXT, something that I liked, and this episode is a great example of that, you get, here's this thing that you liked, but let's remind you that that is not the focus anymore. Now, how do we start that off? We started off with the NXT champion, Tommaso Ciampa, in the ring. Talks about when you're a champion, you're being hunted, but the difference with me being the best NXT champion ever is I don't get hunted, I do the hunting. He calls out Braun Breaker, and he tells the the ring tech at the side of the ring. He says, don't bother giving him a mic because I know what he's going to say. He says, you know, we fought once at Halloween Havoc, but then we had War Games and you pinned me. You impressed everybody. You made your statement, and you know, you want your shot at New Year's Evil, and that's going to happen. And he just gets really, really sarcastic. He says, here, hope, you know, you're a great guy. You know, you made your statement. You earned it. Just don't drown again. Don't get dragged out into the deep water and all that sort of thing. Then he starts paying homage to the old NXT champions. And this is where we get into, remember when NXT was good? When he was the champion, when Gargano was, and I was wrong last week. I thought the angle, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago with Grayson Waller meant that Gargano was going to go for away a little bit and come back. Apparently, that's not the case, which is a real bummer. NXT is dying slowly. But he starts going through the old champions, the ones, every time they want to talk about the history of the title, who do they really talk about? They talk about Nakamura, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Nobody mentions Bobby Roode, because look where Bobby Roode is right now. He's sitting in Dolph Ziggler's corner while Dolph Ziggler tries to take a title off of one of the only good NXT call-ups on the main roster right now. I'm all over the place tonight because I'm very tired as per usual. Those of you that are used to me will be used to that by now. He says, look at all those guys. Look at all those names I just mentioned. The Sami Zayns, the Kevin Owens, the Shinsuke Nakamuras, the Garganos, we all had 10 years of experience before coming to WWE, and then we had 10 years in WWE, which I don't think is true for any of those guys, but he says, you know, you got all the tools, you got all the explosiveness, you know, you will be a great champion one day, but you're not a main eventer. You don't, you know, shine when the lights are on bright. There is no replacement for time and experience. And he says, you know, you've got this fantasy in your head where you're going to win and you're going to go home and you're going to show it to the family. And he hints on the Steiner stuff. And you guys are going to cheer and you're going to bark and you're going to ooh, ooh, ooh. And, you know, you're going to take that and then you're going to go to bed that night and reality's going to slap you in the face. And he just slaps him in the face, which is really good. And they have this really cool stare down that's really, really intense, and it's awesome. I mean, awesome by current NXT standards. But they have this really intense stare down, and then Braun Breaker just lifts him up above his head, and he squirms a bit, and he squirms a bit, and he squirms a bit, and then Braun Breaker puts him back down in this really mocking way, and Ciampa just sort of sits in the corner clutching his belt. And I said, for a couple of minutes you had a really good, like, basically a monologue, because Braun Breaker didn't say anything, but you had this really good promo going between one really, really intense champion that's really, really looking down on this guy, and this other guy just sitting there and taking it all, and then you made Ciampa look like a bitch at the end. So here's my thing, because we know there's a changing of the guard. We do. The championships, who holds the championships, and what championships are even going to exist. We'll talk about that later on. But the changing of the guard is really going to sort of be official when they put that belt on Braun Breaker. Now, cut off the end of that promo, end that promo on the slap, and you've got the badass champ that we all know and love in the good, the proper, the real gold and black NXT. And if Braun Breaker beats him, then he makes himself a little bit. But Braun Breaker lifts him up, has a bit of a laugh, laughs off everything he just said in that promo. It almost has the John Cena effect, and then has Ciampa sort of sitting in the corner recovering. You beat that Tommaso Ciampa, and what the fuck have you done? So, 99% good, 1% shit. Now, and that's just how, there's no recovery either. It's just, that's it, that's the end of the segment, and it just drops, and it drops like a rock, which is really unfortunate. And he says, oh, you talk about me drowning, you know, there's blood in the water, and I'm the shark, and I'm gonna eat your championship or some other bullshit. And we move on to Grayson Waller on Instagram, on an Instagram video, talking about, you know, AJ Styles being shit and how he doesn't have his backup anymore. And he said, and he goes really hard left into the, you know, it's really weird that you look like my mom. And that's, you know, the AJ Styles mom hair thing was quote unquote funny like 5 years ago. But he lingers, it's not only not funny, but he lingers on it, which is just awkward. And then he says, how does this sound? The phenomenal Grayson Waller. Okay. I like Grayson Waller for what he's doing. He's sort of a really, really hyper, we're trying to get the young people involved. I think I'm a celebrity, but I'm really not. He's doing a really, like, he's doing Miz on crack. You know, like, MJF in AEW is like sort of discount Miz. This is discount Miz on crack. And as long as you get that, then you can enjoy it. Then you can know that this guy's way too hopped up on his own shit, and when he gets thumped down, it'll be cathartic, I think is the word I'm looking for. Maybe not. Somebody with a thesaurus. I can speak, I swear. Somebody with a thesaurus, hit me down in the box below. Is it going to be cathartic when AJ Styles kicks the shit out of him? Because it didn't happen tonight, unfortunately. Kai and Gonzalez is advertised for the street fight that is coming up next, except coming up next means coming up now, because they just start the brawl in the backstage area. It starts in the back when an equipment box is shot into Gonzalez by Kai, and they brawl. Each one of them there's a random cage door in the back, not a cage like a steel cage, but just like a metal cabinet door. Dakota Kai gets javelined into it, and then she reverses, and Gonzalez hits it as well. Kai gets thrown onto a cart, and the cart gets thrown into a door, and after that, they walk outside. Now, I work in a warehouse. You hit the bay door, and then you walk out the little door. That's fine. I thought they were going to brawl outside, but we went to commercial break, and when we came back, they were in the ring. So I got the sort of implied... the implied implication. There you go. The redundancy department hit there right there. You got the implication that they were going to brawl outside for a bit, which is, it's sort of in joking NXT canon that the NXT parking lot is the most dangerous place in wrestling, so that kind of could have been cool. But no, we came back from the commercial break, and they're just in the ring. They've just finished pulling the tools out from under. We've got kendo sticks and chairs. There's a curb stomp on the gap between the apron and the step by Dakota Kai, and a flapjack on an open chair by Gonzalez, which I don't really know what happened with this, because it was kind of cool looking, because it was kind of dangerous looking, because she flapjacked her over, and I don't know whether the implication was that she hit her chest, stomach, face, jaw area, but she sold it well regardless. She sold it basically that she got hit in the everything, because I think she did kind of get hit in the everything. Dakota Kai gives her a double stomp. There's a powerbomb on the steps by Gonzalez, the big flat bottom step. Powerbomb on a bin gets the win for Gonzalez, who calls out Mandy Rose, and then we go to commercial break and we get some other, backstage bullshit that I'll talk about later on, and instead she gets Cora Jade. They both talk about how they both want Mandy. They both want to take out Toxic Attraction. If you want to kill the snake, you got to take out the head. They have this friendly back and forth between two baby faces that both want to fight the champion. Hey, when it's about that one title, there's no friends, there's only foes, and all this kind of shit. Mandy Rose, because she's awesome, comes in via satellite from her hot tub, because she's hot as fuck and she can, and says, hey, you know what? You guys are bickering way too much. New Year's Evil, let's have a triple threat match. And because I'm in a giving mood, why don't you get your asses kicked right now? And they get jumped in the ring by the other two members of Toxic Attraction, which is fine. We'll find out about their revenge later on in the night. We went back to last week and replay Harland tossing Brian Kendrick, of all people, down the stairs. Joe Gacy and Harland, mostly Joe Gacy because Harland doesn't speak, gives a very SJW apology, as SJWs do, and I will say what I say every week. If you are offended by the Joe Gacy gimmick, you are who it's about. Oh yes. Basically, they said, Brian Kendrick should have never put his hands on Harland. He triggered him, and he took him back to a place where he was mistreated, and all the other lovely verbiage that we put up with in Everyday Life in 2021. And it basically ends with "Thank you for your time," which is really Joe Gacy's creepy as shit, and nothing is scarier than real life. Moving on, we go to the back. We are back in the locker room area. We've got the Grizzled Young Veterans. You've got James Drake, who's watching his tablet, who's watching YouTube on his tablet of the Creeds and how they train, and the fact that they can toss weights around and they can jump around and do impressive shit. And Gibson comes in and says, well, yeah, we're not going to beat him with these. We're going to beat him with these. We're going to beat him with our brains. We're not going to beat him with our brawn. It's all going to be fine and wonderful and whatever. And then we go to another locker room in the back, because there's endless locker rooms on NXT. And Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta are bickering with Grayson Waller about what they did to Johnny Gargano, obviously, and basically hype up the arrival of AJ Styles, saying, I hope AJ Styles kicks the shit out of you tonight, pretty much. And this all starts with Persia Pirotta coming in and letting Indy Hartwell know that their match for tonight had been canceled, which is fine, and it's some sort of in-house storytelling. But what were they? Who were they supposed to face? There was a lot announced for this show. To be fair to NXT, and I know this because I listen to What Culture, and Michael Sidgwick doesn't do any of his own work. So if there were bullet points to be made, he took them from the website. Did he not? I don't think these guys had a match. So the fact that they had a match and it was canceled, they made up a match in their heads for the purpose of saying that it was canceled, so that this segment could happen, so that Grayson Waller could come in, so that he could get yelled at, so that we could talk about AJ Styles coming later tonight. Oh, yes. The Creed Brothers versus the Grizzled Young Veterans, for all intents and purposes, isn't really a match. I mean, the Creed Brothers are big, strong dudes that are effective. The Grizzled Young Veterans are, I guess, the heels by default in this match. They're trying to use some trickery. They're trying to use some double team maneuvers, and they are the pro wrestlers taking on the wrestling wrestlers, if that makes sense. It's not a bad story to tell in the ring, by the way. These guys are tough as hell. The Creed Brothers are brand new and impressive and out there trying to do stuff. Don't let me take anything away from them, but there just wasn't anything to it, especially when Jacket Time come out. They sort of did the New Day thing. They came out and they had their own commentary table, and every now and then they would throw to them, because they actually got real headsets, and Vic Joseph and Wade Barrett would throw to them on commentary and say, hey, I wonder what Jacket Time thinks of this, but they're talking in Japanese, and they do the English-speaking commentator thing of, well, I definitely agree with Kushida, but I don't agree with Ikemen Jiro at all, the implication being that they don't know what the fuck they're saying, and that's all fine and wonderful. So they're doing their commentary thing. It's kind of funny. Both teams tease putting the other team members through the Jacket Time table, which is a really tiny, card table. I think they probably borrowed a card table from Duke Hudson's, poker room, because he's busy, mourning the loss of his hair, which is fine. Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs are on the other side. The match doesn't have an ending, because all four teams brawl. And I fully expected Imperium to come up on the perch again and be like, ha ha ha, look at all these idiots fighting for a chance at our titles. But I don't think any of these guys are getting a chance at those titles, as we will talk about later on. This was a match, and this is where you guys need to go back to all the other videos that I've ever done on NXT, where I've said, look, they've really put on this display because they're really trying to have a tag team division. They don't have a tag team division, they have a couple of teams. So the next time I get my hopes up, and the next time I say, hey, it looks like they're actually doing something with their tag division, it's not their strong suit. It's like the AEW women's division. It's not their strong suit. Their things, the women, AEW has the tags, and everybody should just leave it as it is. So next time I come up here with my stupid hopes and hope that they're actually going to do something with the tag team division, then you can just smack me virtually in the comment section. Just, big capital letters, Spaz, fuck off. Now, I would like to see, since we've done this a couple of times now, we brought Balor back down for a little bit. We brought Charlotte in, even though that wasn't allowed to happen because she's white and blonde, so she's not allowed to be successful. Now we've brought in AJ Styles to do the Waller stuff that we're going to talk in a little bit. If you want to give an injection into this tag team division, bring in a team that hasn't been there before. Like a lot of people say, bring the Street Profits back, and I don't agree with that, because that'd be just sort of a feel-good, that'd be a homecoming thing. If they weren't involved with Roman Reigns, and if they weren't currently carrying belts on SmackDown, I would say give the Usos a short run in NXT, and just let them elevate everybody there, and then go back. I'm talking 2 months maybe. Have the Usos versus the Grizzled Young Veterans, the Usos versus Imperium, see if they can get a good match out of Imperium. But I'll be selfish. Once again, I would really love to see the Usos versus MSK. New Day would be another great example, especially because they are an established two-man team, because Big E's doing his stuff over here now. MSK versus Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, you can't tell me that wouldn't be good. You've done it with the women's division, which is awesome. You've done it with the men's division, which is awesome. Try it with the tag team division. See what happens. It couldn't hurt at this point. Moving swiftly on from that useless tag team match that wasn't even really a tag team match, we've got Carmelo Hayes backstage hyping up the match between Trick Williams and Dexter Lumis. Later on tonight, we're talking about how Trick is absolutely not scared of Dexter Lumis, and then, of course, Dexter Lumis comes up on the TV screen to stare blankly, because that's what he does. Right after Trick Williams says the next time he sees Dexter Lumis giving a thumbs up, he's going to stick that thumb up his ass. Oh yes, we have a really weird segment in the back, and I'm going to say that a lot. We're in the trainer's area, and Zoe Stark is still injured, so she's in for physio or something like that on her knee. They're taking a look at her knee, they're taking a look at the brace on her knee, or whatever the case may be, and they are, kicked out or attempted to be kicked out by some of the members of Legado del Fantasma. It's like, the trainer's room is for real stars first and you guys second and whatever. And Io Shirai sort of stands up to both of them, which is kind of funny because they're not going to do an intergender match, so what the fuck. And then Elektra Lopez pops her head out and they have a stare down and it's fine and whatever. Zoe Stark, ever the optimist, ever the, glass half full person, is like, hey, thanks for sticking up for me, I knew you liked me. And then Io Shirai, because they're booking her as a racist, says, no, I still don't like you. It is what it is. Loomis versus Trick Williams. Now, what can I say about this? Again, this is another story where the two guys in the match didn't matter for the purpose of the segment. These two big guys, Dexter's being weird, Diamond Mind is watching from the Regal perch, and then eventually Roderick Strong comes down from the Regal perch and attacks Carmelo, and they brawl on the outside because each one of them has said at various points throughout the last couple of weeks that they are the A champion, even though neither one of them is the NXT champion, which is fine. Trick Williams attempts to hit Loomis with his shoe, which doesn't work. Loomis locks in the silence, and it's fine. Waller attacks Loomis with a chair because Waller is a thing. Everybody fucks off. Waller stays in the ring. Loomis is injured. He leaves. Trick and Carmelo, they leave. The guys, Diamond Mine, are on the perch, and they leave. Those are stories to be continued at a later date. He sits in the ring with a chair and waits for AJ Styles to arrive, and we see AJ Styles arrive on the Tron. Let me say, because there's some video stuff again that we're going to talk about later on, I hate this thing that they do, and this is across all the shows, where one person comes out, we go to commercial break, we do some other backstage shit, we do some other backstage shit, and then the other person that they're supposed to fight or have a promo with or whatever comes out after the fact, because that one person is just sitting there in the ring watching shit happen, and I have to imagine myself in the crowd, because whoever's in the crowd is watching that person sit in the ring, watching the screen, watching other shit happen. I will say, speaking of just sitting there in the arena watching shit happen, I am going to a house show on the 29th, provided it doesn't get canceled. COVID, go fuck yourself. AJ Styles comes out, he gets a raucous reaction from the crowd, and yeah, there was a little bit of fake crowd in there too, I'm not gonna lie, but the crowd in there seemed genuinely excited to see AJ Styles as a veteran star, as he's coming to the ring. I can't help but feel, especially on this, I mean, it would have been true on regular NXT anyway, even though, Black and Gold, like Spaz's NXT, right? It would have been true there, but it's especially true now. AJ Styles walks into that ring in the NXT arena and looks about 10 feet tall. Not physically, obviously, but he's got more star power than the brand that he's on, which is amazing. And he's got the crowd in the palm of his hand. AJ Styles is a babyface on NXT. They cut a promo. There's not much really here that you haven't heard before. It's every new young upstart versus old veteran thing that you could possibly imagine. Waller throws in a whole lot of, hey, I'm surprised you haven't said, or I'm surprised you have anything to say whatsoever with your backup all gone and whatever, this and that. And it's just, it gets me very excited for the match, but at the same time, it's nothing you haven't heard before in a million other, like, hey, I'm the new guy, so I'm going to poke fun at the old guy. And, yeah, I don't know, I don't have much to say about the promo, other than they got really intense at the end. Waller bails, and as he's bailing, he says, well, I know Omos has you first, but I've got next. Which makes me think, this was not confirmed tonight, the Omos match with AJ Styles, I'm pretty sure is happening on day one. New Year's Evil is 3 days later. If that's the case, then this match is happening on New Year's Evil, which is pretty fucking cool. The promo wasn't anything. Really, the promo wasn't. I couldn't tell you anything they said. They didn't they didn't say anything that I felt worthy of writing down other than the Omos line at the end. Yeah, they're two guys that I want to see fight. I don't care. It's to draw a comparison, CM Punk and Bryan Danielson are going to fight at some point in AEW. I want to see that match. And if I'm perfectly honest with you, I could not care less how they get there. I could not care less if one of them's the champion or not. I could not care less who's face or heel. Punk and Danielson are going to face at some point in AEW, and I want to see that match. This is a very low-key version of that. Grayson Waller is fun to watch in the ring, and his, like I say, his sort of like Miz on crack character is fun. And AJ Styles has got his own version of cockiness, and it comes across really weird when he's sort of pseudo babyface. So this match will be fun. I don't care how we get there. None of the promo really landed for me, but at the same time, it all started off with Waller making fun of his mom hair on Instagram, and this is where we're at in life. You know what I'm looking way more forward to, though, is we got a promo from Diamond Mine in the back. It's mostly Malcolm Bivens talking on behalf of Roderick Strong, talking about how Roderick Strong and Carmelo Hayes both go around NXT saying they are the A champion. They suggest a champion versus champions match at New Year's Evil, and we will talk about that more later on. Riddle and MSK. Now, again, this is it's stoner stuff. It might surprise you, it might not surprise you to know that I am not a stoner. I think the stoner shit is funny, but like in small doses, it is the best that I can say. He's sitting there doing his shaman thing, talking about how tag teams are like scooters, and if all the wheels aren't pointing in the right direction, then you're not going to go where you want to go. Then he gives them a bunch of RK Bro merch, and then they wake up at the bus stop, and the implication is that it was all a dream, which would have been really lame, except Riddle shows up in front of them, and they've got RK Bro merch in their hands, and they hop on their scooters, and they leave. So it wasn't a dream. So why have them wake up on the bench and say it's... Anyways, they're going to be going back to NXT next week, which is fine and wonderful, and I got nothing. I don't get any of it. But I really don't get the whole, like, fake out that it was a dream and then we just continue on back to the PC. Von Wagner's, I was about to say, squashed Idris Enofe, but he didn't. He beat the shit out of Idris Enofe, and Idris Enofe got a fluke roll-up, and Robert Stone was watching the whole time. Because Robert Stone, none of the Robert Stone brand is employed by WWE anymore, except for Robert Stone. He doesn't have a brand anymore. I mean, Robert Stone managing Von Wagner is some good old cliche WWE odd couple stuff. I don't know who this helped, though, because Von Wagner went in there and squashed Enofe with everything but the actual victory. Idris Enofe looks like he got a fluke win. Von Wagner looks like the dumb guy that can beat the shit out of you but can't get a pin. Didn't help anybody. Robert Stone is going to manage Von Wagner, I guess. We cut quickly from that to the back with Imperium making fun of MSK. Now, there were 4 other teams earlier on in the show tonight that are all beating the shit out of each other, which are all, theoretically trying to build the big capital M momentum towards those tag team championships. But instead, they choose only to reference MSK. They're doing this thing where the interviewer asks them something in English and they answer in Italian and German, and the interviewer says, I don't speak any of those languages, and they continue to speak Italian and German with subtitles. It's supposed to be live, but the video editing has been done to add in the subtitles, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't. I got nothing. We do get a nice video package of all the NXT superstars going around Orlando, Florida, with various charities and children's charities and holiday charities and all that kind of thing. And this is sort of where I put all my criticism of this show on the shelf a little bit. You see, wrestlers out of character doing the fun stuff. Holiday stuff, I mean... Fucking COVID, not much feels like the holidays these days, if you ask me. But you see stuff like this, it does make you feel good. It makes you feel good to know that the people that you enjoy watching also enjoy doing good shit. How's that? I mean, WWE, they go to Saudi Arabia and they book stupid storylines and, you know, they fire a bunch of people and then Vince McMahon makes fun of it on Raw. But then they turn around and they do shit like this. I'm not saying that balances the books, but I'm just saying it's not all bad. That's about all I got. Elektra Lopez versus Io Shirai is fine. You got an experienced wrestler and a power wrestler. The rest of Legado are on the outside. Midway through the match, Io Shirai reminds us that she can do a really good 619. Zion Quinn shows up at ringside, takes out Legado del Fantasma at ringside, hangs the mistletoe over the rope to distract Elektra Lopez, but Legado beat him up some more and they smack his face off the apron, I do believe. And if you go over to AEW once again, I'm sure Taz will remind you that is the hardest part of the ring. Shirai gets in there with a palm strike and an over the moonsault and she gets the win. But again, internal fighting with Legado del Fantasma and Zion Quinn. Zion Quinn wants to shag Elektra Lopez, and I'm pretty sure she feels the same. And that costs her a match against Io Shirai, who should have been able to beat her without any of this involved. Again, Io Shirai from the old NXT. Here's the old NXT that I like. Here's all the garbage that is just piled around her. And it's not like War Games a couple years ago where she put the garbage bin on her head to do something cool. This is just garbage for garbage's sake, because we come out of this and you talk about you know, what's the relationship within Legado del Fantasma like? What's all the stuff going on with Zion Quinn and Elektra Lopez? You're not talking about Io Shirai, who got the win, who you should be talking about, because she got the fucking win. Incredibly outnumbered, still got the win, but needed a distraction to win, and Elektra Lopez needs a shag and to get her head on straight. That's not a great story. Carmelo Hayes accepts the champion versus champion match for New Year's Evil, and then they clarify on commentary, that is a championship unification match. I am pretty damn sure that this is how they're getting rid of the Cruiserweight Championship. I'm pretty sure whoever wins this match, and not gonna lie, I like Carmelo, but I hope it's Roderick Strong, is just going to be the North American champion moving forward. I could be wrong. I could be very, very wrong. They could keep the Cruiserweight title going and somehow they separate the titles later on down the line. You don't want a Kurt Angle Euro Continental Championship situation, but it is a unification match, which implies to me that there's only going to be one title and one title holder when this match is all said and done. We get the announcement that Gonzalez and Cora Jade are going to get a chance at a little bit of revenge in a non-title match against Gigi Dolan and JC Jane next week, and then we see a video from none other than Brian Kendrick, who says he's just resigned as a trainer at the PC and he's signed all the releases that he needs to sign, and he challenges Harlan to a match next week. So we've got Brian Kendrick in 2021 to end the year against Harlan on NXT. That's weird. As I say, we got the contract signing for the champion versus champion match is set for next week as well, and it's going to be hosted by Wade Barrett, because why not? William Regal is a missing person. That's all I got. Tony D'Angelo versus Pete Dunne is your main event. Now, I could tell you the nuts and bolts of this match. You got a whole lot of character work and a lot of brawling from Tony D'Angelo. You got strikes and submissions from Pete Dunne. You got Pete Dunne doing the joint manipulation stuff right down to finger stuff. But then they just have a really good match. And I love, in all the silliness, in all the, here's all the new stuff, here's all the old stuff, and here's all the old versus new stuff, and here's this, you know, rainbows and butterfly farts NXT. In this pocket over here, I don't think anybody was really paying attention. They just gave these guys some time, and they just decided to have a really good match, which is good. Like I say, Tony D'Angelo did a lot of character stuff, but he didn't come across like a cartoon character like he normally does. And I love the simplicity of this. Pete Dunne basically being the guy that walks around and says, I'm the baddest guy here, somebody come prove me wrong. And Tony D'Angelo says, okay, let's do it. We do have to go from them just putting on a really good match to them telling NXT 2.0 stories. He does come in with the crowbar at one point to try and attack him with the crowbar, but that fails and it gets tossed back out of the ring. Pete Dunne does, pretty much puts him in the salt of the earth, but with finger stuff. Tony takes out the mouth guard once again and sends him face first into a turnbuckle, but Dunne comes back, snaps the fingers, hooks him into a quick bitter end, and gets the win. And at this point, as much as I just said, we put the old versus new on the shelf for a second, Pete Dunne is very, very much black and gold NXT. And at this point, I'm sort of in a spot watching this show. I like Tony D'Angelo, but when it's so obviously old, somebody from the new school, somebody from this Rainbows and Butterfly Farts NXT versus the black and gold, even if I like Tony D'Angelo, I'm still gonna raise the fist a little bit higher if somebody from the black and gold gets the win and Pete Dunne gets the win. Plus Pete Dunne, he does fit into that nice, neat little category along with Shotzi Blackheart of I first saw him at Destiny Wrestling. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. Oh yes, post-match, there is an attack. There is a snap slam on the floor by Tony D'Angelo, and then he smashes his hand with the crowbar because, mafia stuff. Anyways, that was a show that was all over the place, as this show tends to be. Next week, we've got even more stuff. We've got the contract signing for the title versus title match hosted by Wade Barrett. We've got Harlan versus Brian Kendrick. Yeah, roll that one around again in your head. We've got Grayson Waller taking on Dexter Loomis, which is just a continuation at this point of him kicking Johnny Gargano out of the company. We got Jane and Dolan in a non-title match against Gonzalez and Jade, but that takes us to New Year's Evil in 2 weeks. And guys, it's not a takeover. It's not even trying to be a takeover. It's not even whatever War Games was. But for an elevated episode of NXT, Breaker versus Ciampa for the NXT title, Mandy Rose versus Raquel Gonzalez versus Cora Jade for the women's title, Carmelo Hayes versus Roderick Strong to unify the Cruiserweight and North American championships, and probably AJ Styles versus Grayson Waller. That ain't a bad show. I mean, it's a weird show. Don't get me wrong. We are going to get that last little piece of the changing of the guard with Braun Breaker, I do think. The women's triple threat is going to be really good. Probably better than anybody gives it credit for, because how dare we cheer Mandy Rose. Carmelo versus Strong is obviously going to be the match of the night, and Styles versus Waller is just weird enough to be fun. So, yeah, on the eve of my birthday, this weird new Technicolor Fever Dream NXT probably gave me exactly what I need. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, come find me on a podcast platform by searching the Spaz Phoenix Podcast, or going over to Rumble and searching Spaz Phoenix Podcast. If you're on any of those and you want to find me on YouTube instead, search Spaz Phoenix, go to Spaz Phoenix or Spaz Phoenix 1 on Twitter, Spaz Phoenix on Instagram, or the Spaz Phoenix Podcast Facebook group on Facebook. Put a comment down below if you are watching on YouTube, because they still don't think anybody watches these videos, even though there's a counter. But that shilling being done and over with, and the fact that I am super tired, no voice, as usual, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, you know the drill. I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.